Welcome to the what pens I got in 2024 video. Mom, if I was about to tell you there are 41 pens sitting on this desk, nearly a pen a week.
Wow, okay. I knew there were a lot. I had no idea.
Does it make you feel better if most were gifted?
Yes.
All right, let's get into this. First up, we have the BENU Hot Toddy. This was a Gold Spot exclusive in the fall, and I love it. It's a Euphoria model. I eyedroppered it.
I love that it came with a recipe.
We haven't tried the recipe yet.
No, but one of your viewers did.
That is true. Somebody did try it in the comments section. And there was both a non-alcoholic and an alcoholic version, so we should try it at some point. And I also eyedroppered it, which is super cool. I like it more eyedroppered. So if you want to eyedropper your BENU, I have a video up. And I also stress tested it for a month before I put the video up, just to make sure that I hadn't screwed anything up too badly. And it still hasn't leaked. It's been eyedroppered since the beginning, or since mid-October. And it is now mid-January, so I'm quite happy with it eyedroppered.
Any concerns about the ink staining the interior of the barrel?
Probably if you're really picky like that. I
But you're
chose
not.
a color that was similar enough to it that I'm
Right.
not super concerned.
Cool.
What's up next? Ooh, Conlin. Conlin provided these pens as part of content back in the summer. We picked them up at the Atlas Sidewalk sale.
Yeah, I believe you unboxed them in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that sounds about right. This is the, with loons in the background, I happen to remember. This is the 1898 in Misto Purple, I believe was the colorway. I love this pen. It's got such a nice weight to it for a pen this size. The cap, I think, actually weighs more than the pen. I never post this pen, but I do really like it. I did get it in an OmniFlex nib. I've learned that I don't love flex nibs. I experimented with them this year. Really vintage flexes for me, and that's about it, but it was fun to try. And luckily, Conlin spare nibs are fairly easy to find, so I'll just switch this out with a fine or a medium at some point. The other pen they sent was a Mark Twain demonstrator edition.
That pen looks so cool.
And it is so much fun. I love a vintage sack filler. I love vintage Parker pens. And so being able to see the internal mechanism of the pen was just so amazingly cool. And I've had a great time with it. There's a little bit of staining in it. I put the wrong ink in it at one point, but I think if I actually took more time to clean it, that wouldn't be an issue. The only downside of this pen is that the nib doesn't match the trim. Conlin does make a rose gold nib, and I wish it had come in this pen. I think it just breaks the look a little bit to have the silver nib.
The rose gold is just a color, though. It's not like a gold.
Yeah,
nib.
no, it's just a color.
Okay.
Conlin does offer gold nibs on some pens, but I don't believe it was offered on this pen.
Do you think a pen wash would, or ink wash, whatever it's called, would clean up any of the staining?
Oh,
on it?
Yeah, pen flush, yeah, probably. And this is also very much a desk pen.
What's a desk pen?
A pen that I don't travel with, like Albert's pen.
Okay.
It's because if this ring gets bumped in the wrong direction, it gets jammed.
Right.
And I have fixed it with dental floss. You can sort of get something underneath it to help you turn it if it gets stuck.
Right.
But it's definitely one of those pens that is better, maybe not in a pen case, as pretty as it is. But I do love that I can see the internal mechanism.
Oh, I think it's fascinating.
And it's just so cool. It's a cool model to begin with, but being able to see the insides makes it even cooler. What's up next?
Esterbrook.
Can you tell we like them? I have 4 Esterbrook's. You have 2?
Yes. I have a JR and a Gold Rush.
Esty, yeah. I have 3 Esties. I have the Diamond Cast Golden Gratitude, which was both an Instagram subscriber goal pen, but also a charity donation I did for St. Jude's. I will leave the video link to that above. I have the Scarlet, which was a pen that I picked up at Scriptus actually from Esterbrook. It wasn't the pen I thought I was going to get. I thought I was going to get Botanical Garden, but
This one was going to be discontinued.
this one has been discontinued.
Okay.
It is no longer on the website. You can only get it from Esterbrook they're clearing out the last couple at pen shows.
Is Botanical Garden still available?
It is.
Okay.
So at some point, it will be added to my collection. And then we have the re-release of Cobalt, which was also Scriptus. I didn't know they'd re-release this colorway. It's a classic Esterbrook colorway. And it was a very short-lived re-release. I think this pen was only on the website for about 2 weeks
Before it
before it
sold
sold
out?
out.
Wow.
I don't know that it actually made it to any stores. But I also got mine with a mini stub, which was ground by Kirk Spear for Esterbrook, and it has quickly become my favorite nib grind. I think they're...
What's the size difference between a mini stub and a regular stub? So I have a stub in
I would
Gold
say
Rush.
a mini stub's
Less than a millimeter?
way less than a millimeter.
Okay.
Like, so your stubs are normally stubs normally come in 1.1 millimeter, 1.4 millimeter, and 1.8 millimeter. I think
Okay.
Esterbrook's are 1.4. And I think that's probably about half a millimeter. Like it's
Okay.
it's enough that it makes my writing look really pretty,
Mm-hmm.
but I rotate too much to write with a normal stub, and it just looks really nice. And then we have a JR, which was an Esterbrook pen model I kept overlooking, and I adore it. This is in Capri. I love how it reflects light. And I have it in a medium nib.
So my JR
Yep.
is, I think, a fine or an
Yeah.
extra fine. I could make an appointment with Kirk Spear and have him turn it into a mini stub.
You could. You can make an appointment with Kirk at Chicago and
There
have
we
him
go.
do that. Kirk's Chicago appointments will be up in just a couple weeks.
All right.
And Kirk is Claire's favorite nib person. FaberCastell. I've used FaberCastell art supplies for years.
Years
Like
and years.
14 years
Or longer.
or longer. Never occurred to me they made fountain pens. I knew they made fountain pen ink. But until we were at the Atlas Sidewalk sale, I never clued into the fact they made fountain pens. And I've had fun. One of their reps supplied me with the pens and some other fun FaberCastell art supplies that I've had a great time playing with. I have 2 Neo Slims. I had 3. I gave you 1 because I didn't need multiple pens in the same size.
And I have misplaced it. I loved it, and I have misplaced
I'm sure
it.
we'll find it. And then I also have a FaberCastell Grip, which has recently come up in 20 questions as a couple people's favorite pen for beginners.
Hey, that's fair.
And I have to agree with that because it's such a solid extra fine nib, and it comes in fine and medium as well. And again, much like some of the other beginner pens I have, it has been inked with the same cartridge since August. We are now in January.
And it still
And
writes.
it still writes.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with a pen like that as a beginner because, in all honesty, like, you're going to misplace a pen.
And it's straight up cartridges.
Yeah, so you can buy a converter for it, but I've had the same cartridge in it since August.
Yeah.
And yeah, it feels plasticky, but also the grip isn't as triangular as a Lamy Safari. I can't write with a Lamy Safari. You have my Vista now in your collection, and it just works. It feels great.
Mm-hmm.
All around, solid pen. And then with the Neo Slims, I realized I didn't open one. They look like a ballpoint until you open them. They don't look like a fountain pen, and I sort of like that. They're just like a very subtle fountain pen, and there's something nice about it.
Let me scoot those. The birthday
The
pen
birthday pen
from Hinze.
from Hinze. Because what I really think I said this in last year's video, what I really wanted at some point was a hand-turned pen. But it is hard to find a hand-turned pen that I can get the cap off of. And I've tried a lot of my friends' hand-turned pens. I've tried a lot of hand-turned pens at shows. But it is hard to get the caps off of them for me, and so I don't own any until we went to Scriptus. And then Tori went, you should come stop by.
Because Hinze made pens, started to make pens with clips.
I think Hinze has always made pens with clips.
Okay.
But I think it wasn't, like, Tori and I had the conversation during our 20 questions that I actually needed a pen with a clip, and that's why I didn't have any hand-turned pens. And so I think she was maybe a bit more insistent that they bring more clipped options to the show, because they had quite a variety of pen options with clips.
Yes. And then they customized the clip color and the nib color.
Yes. It did not come with a purple clip, and it did not come with a purple nib, and now it has both.
Yes.
And it's a prototype blank. It's not actually a blank that you can normally buy.
Okay.
And the funny thing is, I like the prototype blank more than the version of the blank they sell, which is fun. Hongde Forest. You've heard me talk about it in 20 questions. You've seen it on the channel a bunch. It's my waterproof ink pen. I got sick for a month. This pen sat on my desk, nib up, still wrote.
So the lid, that means that the lid seals incredibly well.
Seals incredibly well.
Cool.
Because actually it probably went 6 weeks without being touched by the time I made it back down to the office.
And what does a Hongde retail at, approximately?
I think I paid I got mine on a Prime Day.
Okay.
I think I got mine for $15 Canadian for an extra fine nib.
Oh, that's crazy.
And it's been great because I wanted something inexpensive for my waterproof ink. I think I've had it inked up for almost a year now. It hasn't been cleaned. I just keep re-inking it. I'll clean it when it stops writing. But at this point, actually cleaning it feels like I might jinx it.
Right.
So,
well, and if you don't have to, if it just keeps writing and you just keep refilling it.
Yeah, and it gets filled every 6 weeks with ink. And so it's constantly being wrote with, it's constantly being refilled. So for now, it just gets refilled. The thing I collect like jelly beans.
Kaweco Sports.
This is not even my whole collection.
No, these are just your 2024.
These are just my 2024. And to be fair, I think the white ones were purchased in 2023. But in 2023, at this point, they weren't on my desk because they were getting custom work done to them. Because one of them's a jellyfish.
Yep, this is the jelly.
And that one's a bunny, or 2 bunnies.
2 bunnies.
I love the little eyes on the bunny.
Who's the artist?
Well, she doesn't make pens anymore.
Oh.
And so, and at this point, because I don't want anything to happen to them, they're more art pieces than anything else. I actually haven't inked them up again.
Right.
But this was, and I've talked about realistic grails a couple times on my channel. This was my grail going to Chicago last year. It was a discontinued Kaweco color. It was impossible to find in Canada. I was really desperate to find it at the pen show. And I ended up finding it. It was a $28 pen that was my grail. It wasn't an expensive grail. I just desperately wanted it. It's one of the pens of the year. I love their pens of the year. I've got the 2022, the 2021. I don't have the 2023 or the 2024.
So is their pen of the year release just a color?
It's just a color.
Okay.
So this year it was and it's some years it's Pantone colors. This year it's Pantone again.
So it's brown.
I hate it. Last year it was apricot, but it was iridescent.
Okay.
And so I might pick one up from Gold Spot if they've still got one. This one's got gold shimmer in it.
This is Grandpa pen.
Grandpa's. We've also got a highlighter, which currently is an 8 because I was cleaning it. I use this way more than I thought I would. But it's another one of those like slightly more obscure Kaweco pens. And then...
Is your highlighter ink waterproof?
No.
Okay.
So I use it for underlining.
Right.
And then we have my very expensive nib grind for a very cheap series of pens, but I got it for a very clear reason. I have a bunch of them.
Right.
That's why I got it.
What's the grind?
Is a Matthew Chen cursive italic smooth on a double broad nib, and I went back and forth for a long time about getting grinds on Kaweco nibs, and it was actually Julia from Julia here that went, you use them all the time, just get them on the pen that you actually use all the time and you've got a bunch of, because she gets her grinds on Yovo nibs because most of her pens take a Yovo. And I love it. I think my next sort of bigger grind will probably be a mini, it'll either be a mini stub for a Kaweco or an architect for a Kaweco.
Can't you just buy those?
You can buy mini stubs for a size 6 nib.
Right.
These are not size 6 nibs, these are little.
Okay.
And the architect that I have does not fit in these. And so, and then we have my first Urushi pen. Because Ajing was doing them back in the summer and had a couple at Scriptus. And she did strawberry ones, but the one I really liked was this flower one, and it was being sold as a second because the logo had partially flaked off. And I didn't really care about that. What I cared about was finally getting to say I owned something with Urushi on it. And I think it's really cute. Currently, it has no nib in it.
It does have a nib. Oh, no.
It has a feed.
It has a feed.
It has a feed, but no nib. Because I think what I'm going to do, it's such a fabulous pen. I feel like the nib that's in here
will go in here.
Will go in here. I feel like it's such a fabulous pen that it needs a non-boring nib in it. I think when I bought it, I said, oh, just put like whatever nib you have the most of in it, and she sent it to me with a medium.
Okay.
Which is fine. I'm like, Kaweco mediums are great. I've got a bunch of them. But I feel like it needs something more interesting. And then we have a vintage Kaweco Sport by Diplomat. Somebody in the Canadian Pen group was giving it away, and I just thought it was super cool because it's from the 80s and it was super neat.
Oh. I'm surprised it doesn't have shoulder pads and big hair.
I just like that it's by Diplomat on it. Like, I got Diplomat inks, and like, it's just interesting to see. And it's got...
So was Diplomat the original creator of Kaweco pens, or was this
I don't know.
Collaboration?
So they've been around since 1881, Kaweco.
Okay.
I don't know if there was just a time that Diplomat was producing them. I actually haven't looked into that pen all that much. It was just one of those things that I went, oh, this is super cool. And somebody was giving it away in the Canadian Pen group, and I went, mine, please. So, there are the first 20 pens. Apparently, fitting all 41 pens in the same video is quite difficult. So, part 2 will be coming, where we will look at the latter half of the pens in my collection that I acquired last year. So, look out for that, and thanks for watching.